When Davido followed me on Instagram, I had just 154 followers. My previous Instagram was being disabled. So like it was new Instagram. So like he followed me regardless. And then I remember I was somewhere recording and then my phone rang because we've already exchanged contact at this point. Right. And then my phone rang and then he was like, Jonn P, you get a passport? Yeah, I do. I have a passport. And then he was like, and we go Ghana and go record. Yeah, he's a real one. Like put me on a private jet. We flew to Ghana. And then that's where we recorded some of the tracks of the Timeless project. And then eventually after that, got Grammy-Nominated with that. Like, and it's just been great since then.
What's up, y'all? It's Ngozi, and I'm back with another episode of AFRO Archives Podcast, where we tell the stories behind the pivotal and fan-favorite moments in African music history. Today's guest is Jonn P, who is a producer, songwriter, and artist who has worked with the likes of Davido and Magixx. We talked about his music journey beginning in the church, how he landed the opportunity to work on Davido's album Timeless, and how he took the leap to become an artist. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and now let's get into today's video. Thank you so much, Jonn, for joining me today on AFRO Archives Podcast. Thank you so much.
Super excited. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. So the first question that I like to ask my guests is, what are 3 songs from the past that define your journey of becoming a music enthusiast, or 3 artists, if 3 songs is too hard?
I think, okay, it'll be much more easy for me to answer with artist.
Okay.
I think it started with M.I. Mr. Incredible, you know him?
Yeah,
So,
I do.
yeah, I think it started with him. And then this band called Westlife. And then also another band called Backstreet Boys.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. That's an interesting mix. Okay, so I have to talk about that though. So in terms of pop, like growing up, like how much pop did you listen to since Backstreet Boys was your choice?
I'd say like a lot, because I remember like growing up, my brother used to be the one who would play a lot of music like in the house. So he would just go get like a lot of like mixtapes of like basically all these different artists, like pop artists, like Backstreet Boys, so many artists at the time. Even that was pretty much the time like Chris Brown started blowing up with you, so I kind of listened to that too a lot. And so my brother just kind of like just allowed me to listen to a lot of mixtapes that he had at the time. And then my friend introduced me to MI, because back then, like, because when I started, I really didn't know how to sing. I just wanted to do music, but MI was like kind of like the example of what I wanted to be, in the sense of like his hard form. He was not normal in the sense of like he was corporate, you know. He looked like an official artist. It doesn't make sense, right? Like an artist who would go, an artist who looks like someone who can go to the band. I was definitely inspired by him a lot, and he was a rapper, and I wanted to like rap too, because I really didn't know how to sing at the time. So that's pretty much where it started, and I'll be rapping in school, because I was in school. I'll be rapping in school back to back. I'll be doing a lot of like back to back freestyles with my friend. And that's pretty much how the journey started. They started to see me as an artist in school. So I started to like embrace that and allow that character to flourish more. A lot of other people, even Usher, Neo, all of these guys, I was listening to them, but I'll say like you really started with those 3 for sure. MI, Westlife, and Backstreet Boys.
I love that. And a lot of different like music influences, from like rap to R&B, pop. So like a blend of different influences for sure. But I know that growing up in church is where your journey in music initially began. So can you take me back to that time of how it musically shaped who you are today?
Yeah, it's really incredible, because at the time I had lost my mom, and it was really traumatic for me as a child, because she was everything that I knew in regards to safety and freedom and being loved unconditionally. And after she left, it was hard for me to find that again. And so as a child, like I was just floating around. So the only thing that kind of provided some kind of solace and a comfortable space for me to be was the church. Incredible people. I had to say, like the people I was with growing up in the church, they really made the environment very comfortable. I was rapping, I was rapping, and in me rapping in church, to a certain extent, I started getting some kind of popularity in church, and just cause of that popularity now, so the band could like, just be a little lenient with me and just be like, okay, you can join the band. you know. And when I joined the band, um, I just started to allow myself to like do a lot of things that they do over there, like being in the choir practice, just listening. And they would teach us
Mm,
a lot of things like how to sing, how to enunciate, like pronouncing words when singing, like just different dynamics, singing. So I paid a lot of attention to that. And then eventually I also wanted to learn how to play the keys and play like all these other instruments as well. But they wouldn't let me because apparently my church was very strict. So
mm,
they won't let me. So the way that I did it was to sneak. I would sneak and go to the church, and then got to a point where I started to be very frustrated that I wasn't knowing how to play well enough. And I
mm,
remember on that fateful day, in that frustration, I went straight to the altar in church, and then I knelt down and I was like, God, you said in your word. And by this time, I was already like a proper church person. Like I've read the scriptures. Like I read the Bible like from beginning to the end 5 times. Right. So that's how devoted I was in church. I knew all the scriptures that
mm.
want to get up. Like your words say that when your spirit comes, it is going to teach us all things and bring all things to our remembrance. And I was like, I want your spirit to teach me how to play the keys because I really want to know how to play the keys. Then I went back home and then I saw something that felt like a hand like this. I saw something like a hand because I fell in a trance actually. I saw
Mm,
like a hand. I saw myself back at the altar again. And this hand was like in the altar. I don't even know how to explain it to this day. It was
mm.
like an overwhelming sense of love, you know, and that sensation kind of like lasted for like, I'd say like a whole week. And in that period, I think to this very day, like people asking like what was happening to me, I would say God was remodeling. You know, by this time I didn't have the talent to do anything, and from then going on, that's how like I learned how to play the keys, how to play the keyboard in 1 week. And guess
Mm.
what? Nobody taught me how to play. The church really did play a huge part like into who I am today, and that's how like I try as much as I can to be, connected to God. I try to make sure I'm spiritually active. I fast probably like once every week. So definitely the church, played a huge part in that.
And having God at the root of everything is absolutely important. And that experience, it sounds like the Holy Spirit just taking over. Like it sounds like it was
Right.
a powerful experience. And so to go back, because I know basically you're saying that you were self-taught in terms of playing the piano and just like being in the band and everything at church. So when did that transition happen to you officially learning to produce music?
I was playing the keys in the church and I started to be very experimental with it because I spent too much time just because I was obsessed with music at that point. And so I met with one of my friends who happened to be a producer. And then he invited me to the studio. By this time, I was also playing the guitar as well. So he invited me to come play guitar at the studio. And then that was when I saw the whole process of like, what being a producer looked like. And also, this is also at a time where like I also wanted to stop making music for myself. And I
Mhm.
reached out to a lot of people to help me out that they were asking for money I couldn't afford. So I figured the best way to do it was to go learn how to do it myself. So I told this friend to teach me, but he wasn't available to teach me. So I had to, learn it myself. It got to a point where like I started doing it so well and people would ask me to make music for them. Some of my friends around would ask me to make music for them. And so I would make music for them. And I remember like making this particular song that for one of my friends that kind of like gained some sort of popularity in the hood back then. And so just because it got a lot of more people were reaching out to me. And that's how like I went into the rabbit hole of being a producer because more opportunities are coming. People were asking me to keep doing it for them. And I kept doing it and I kept doing it and I kept doing it to the point where like became the main thing I was doing, you know?
Yeah. And what you
So
were becoming known for, right?
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So was it always Afrobeats when it comes to your production? Like, was that the start of it all within Afrobeats?
It's so interesting you say that because funny, like I don't really see myself as an Afrobeat artist. I
Okay.
just see myself as a musician, right? The only thing that would make me be considered as an Afrobeat artist would probably be my language and also maybe the style at which I say certain things. And just because, like, fundamentally, like, I'm African, I'm Nigerian. And,
Mhm.
even if I try to sing like, oh, sure, you would hear, like, this person is African. So I feel like that's the only thing that keeps me tied to Afrobeats in a sense. But, like, in the style of music that I intend to put out there, I don't think I want to make like the proper indigenous Afrobeat music. I just want to allow myself to let music flow through me. However, it's gonna come. If today it's gonna come sounding like I'm a piano, I won't let that happen. If it's gonna come sounding
Mhm.
like I won't let that happen. Like, however, music wants to flow through me. I don't want to restrict myself and confine myself to the
Yeah.
extent of like this is the only thing I'm doing. You know what I'm saying?
That's completely understandable of not wanting to get categorized because I feel like sometimes when it comes to African artists, when people view them, they just only see Afro beats or they only hear quote unquote Afro beats, but maybe they're trying to dive into pop, they're trying to dive into soul music, but they just get stuck within that box. So I understand of not wanting to get, pigeonholed in a sense. So I know you were a part of a Grammy nominated album, and that album is Davido's Timeless. And back in 2022 is when you guys first started working together. And I know that it was because he followed you on Instagram after hearing a record that you produced. So can you take me back to that time of when you two first started collaborating?
I used to work with Mavins. I mean, I still work with Mavins to this day, but then I used to stay in the camp more. 'Cause, like, they had like artists that were in the process of what they consider to be the academy. So I would be working with them, like trying to make music with them, because the plan was to do that with them so that when they eventually blow up, my name will also blow up as well, type shit, and I could use that to, elevate myself. So,
Mm.
um, because I got connected to Dr. Seed, who actually, I don't know if you know Dr. Seed. Dr. Seed
Yeah, I
is,
do.
yeah, so part of Mavin. So, like, he actually, and big shout out to Dr. Seed for actually providing that opportunity. And then I would be hanging around there a lot. And so I remember one time they were about to sign a particular artist. Um, I won't be able to mention his name just for privacy reasons,
Yeah.
but they're about to sign him, and they brought him over, and they were looking for producers to make music for him. They wanted to like just test and just like see what was going on. And so what happened was they reached out to me and they told me to come make music for him. I did that. And when we were done, we sent the music over to the NR team, and they heard it and they're like, not very sure. Like, this sounds like something, but we feel like the beat is sounding like this, the vocals sound like this. It's not connecting. That was
Hmm.
their feedback. And so the plan was to like keep going further to keep making more songs, because you know how it is in this industry. You can't always be making great songs 100% of the time. Sometimes like you hit and you miss, you know what I'm saying? So then eventually Davido reached out to him and be like, I think I might be interested in signing you. I'd like you to send some songs over to me. And so he sent songs over to him. And then it was actually that particular song that, the feedback, the early feedback that we got was that they didn't like it. It was actually that one that David specifically liked. And then
Okay.
he was like, I think he started to be curious a little bit more, like, okay, who's the producer behind it? And that's how my friend that he reached out to told him about me. And that's how he followed me on Instagram. And Davido is a real one, because when Davido followed me on Instagram, I had just 154 followers.
Oh wow.
Right. And I remember my previous Instagram was being disabled. So like it was new Instagram. And so like he followed me regardless. And you know, invited us over to come to the crib, and then we made a song that David did. And then, after that, I think he went on the tour, like he went on the concert somewhere, something like that. And then I remember I was somewhere recording, and then my phone rang, because we've already exchanged contact at this point, right? And then my phone rang, and then he was like, Jumpy, you get passport. Yeah, I do. I have a passport. And then he's like, and we go down and go record, you know.
Yeah.
And that's how he came over and told me to meet him at the crib, met him at the crib. And that's how, yeah, he's a real one. Like, put me on a private jet, we flew to Ghana. And then that's where we recorded some of the tracks of the Timeless project, you know. And then eventually after that, got Grammy-nominated with that, like, and it's just been great since then, you
Yeah.
know?
That's amazing. Like how you said, yeah, like what, like 154 followers, you said? And it's just like you never know who's watching you, who's listening, and just how quickly things just popped off like that. So that's a really cool experience, honestly. And then talking more about Timeless, I know that you helped in producing songs like Kante, You Pay Me, and In the Garden. But specifically, I want to talk about Kante featuring Fave, which I feel like is one of the standout tracks of the album. So,
Yeah,
can you take me back to that studio session of co-producing that record in particular? Because I know you worked on it with Dami, right?
right. Actually, we were not in the studio together. So what
Okay.
really happened was, I think Dami and Fave already had the first demo, like the first version of it. And then, um, they probably sent a rec to Davido and then he heard it and then, wanted to like put his verse on it. And then, so he sent me, they had like an open verse. And then, so he sent me that to write something on it. So I wrote something on it, and then another day, I think he was in Atlanta at the time, and then eventually he came back for working on like a bunch of songs for the project. And then he was like, "Yeah, I'd like to listen to what you did on that Fave track." And then he heard it, he liked it, and that's how like we recorded on it. It wasn't a session where like we were all together with Fave. It was just basically me and Davido. So I think Dami and Fave probably had their own session, and me and David just had our own separate session,
Okay,
basically.
so just everything coming together. Okay, like different
Yes.
parts coming. Okay, but that's a
Right.
that's a great record, and I'm glad that it's back on all streaming platforms. I know there's a point where it wasn't, but and then I know that you also worked on Davido's most recent album Five, which you helped with songs like Titanium, R&B, and Take. So how was that experience in contrast with Timeless? Like how was like the differences?
Timeless was more opportunity based in the sense of like I've never had such a level of opportunity before in my life. I was just a guy who was just out there in Lagos, just thugging it out, just making it work. And then all of a sudden, I have access to Davido, you
Mm,
know? And then, so that was it was a very huge opportunity for me at the time to be able to work with Davido, travel with him. And then eventually, like, that kind of like just opened more doors for me where like I started like connecting with more people, and then it became scalable and sustainable where like, it started to feel normal.
mm,
Utilize that opportunity. I milked it to the point where like, I started to have access to other things too, So he was very like happy to see me like, working out here in America, like doing my own thing, you know what I'm saying? So he was very excited to see that. And so I think like a couple of days after that, he went to the Grammys. And after the Grammys, um, probably went back to Nigeria and then come back to LA. And I was about to leave. I was about to go back to Nigeria. And that's when he hit me up and he was like, "Oh, you still in LA?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And it's like, "Okay." I told him about to leave at a certain time, and then he was like, "Oh, do you mind staying longer? I'm actually working on my home."
mm,
Right.
mm,
And that's how I stayed longer. And then we got this like very nice Airbnb album. The pinnacle of it, like what really made it so amazing was the fact that Chris Brown showed up, you
oh,
know. It was there with us and spent like a couple of days with us, like, just to be able to like just, be in an environment where like Chris Brown was just casually moving around, just doing his thing. It just felt like, like this is a dream coming true. Yeah. At the time I was already kind of like getting used to like meeting people, seeing like famous people. So like, it felt normal, but within me, like I felt very grateful that this is the life that I'm living. You know what I'm saying? So yeah,
yeah, and
yeah,
just that being prepared and how that opportunity came about, but you were already prepared for it, and also just building that confidence that you had and building that momentum as well. So things
right.
just falling into place and coming together. So I love hearing that. And then
Yeah.
also another Nigerian artist who you've worked with is Magixx, and you produced Maria, which is actually one of my favorite songs by him.
Oh,
And I
that's
know
good.
previously you were talking about how you've worked with Mavin. So like, how did that collaboration come about working with Magixx?
Yeah, because like I pretty much, being very tapped in with Mavin and the team. So like sometimes I did want to work with when like some of the artists are trying to work on their project, like the team will eat me up and boost, asked me to come and help this stuff. So then, I have my personal relationship with some of the artists there too. So sometimes I'm like, he don't know, be like, yo, I got this idea. So I work with other people made this too, like Crayon to Bayanni, you know. Uh, yeah, so pretty much I think that time it was one of the A&Rs hit me up and told me like Magixx is working on the project and told me like to pull up and just make music with him. So I went to the studio section that day and me and Magixx wrote together and we made that record. And for me, I thought it was gonna be like a project. I didn't know it was gonna be like a single. And here he was like, "Yo, this is sounding so good. We have to put it out ASAP." I think like in the next couple of weeks, the song is out.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
a great record for sure. We've talked about the records you've helped produce and working with all the different artists, but now I want to get into talking about your own solo career. So you recently made that transition into becoming a solo artist. And what was the moment that led you to officially make that move? Because I know it's been brewing for a bit. You wanted to sing, you've always wanted to sing, but when did you officially make that decision? Like, okay, I'm going to actually fully try this.
yeah. For me, I understood that it wasn't something that I could do alone, based on the magnitude of the vision that I have. You know, and I understood that to be able to do that, it wasn't something that just by myself I'll be able to do. So I feel like my major motivation was from the realization that God has blessed me with an amazing team. So, and just knowing that like everybody, we were all like together with the same mindset and the same vision. And then also just based on like this intuitive knowing, this like spiritual realization that now is the time. Yeah.
Is there anything that has surprised you so far about being an artist, like that you weren't initially aware of because now you're like fully in being an artist,
Uh,
or maybe something you weren't accustomed to that now you have to adjust?
Learning how to like navigate. I'm trying to understand the landscapes. I'm trying to understand pretty much like how to exist as an artist. So like I've seen in the process, I've seen other artists like do it, but like I saw more of like the external part of it, like the internal part of it. And I had like all these big expectations to be very honest with you. I had like all these big expectations in regards to like what I thought needed to be done and how I also wanted things to be done like in my own timing, you know. And I just started to understand that, I'm not just working alone, I'm working with a lot of people and everybody are gonna have like different opinions, you know what I'm saying? And and I can have my opinion. One thing about being a visionary is you can have a vision, but sometimes like you also need to learn how to help other people see the vision. My whole team is very incredible and they see the vision. We are like in the fundamental process. We're trying to lay the foundation. So like in laying the foundation, it's like it takes a lot of work. And sometimes that work might also be might require a lot of labor. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? And so I just say like the labor part of it is something that I'm kind of like getting used to. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
but it's been great, and I think like I really like it because with the way we're going about it, like once we go through this process and master this process, it creates a very solid foundation for us to be able to build every other thing we want to build upon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think if I want to be very like direct, I think it's just because I was speaking to one of my friends recently, and then he was like, "Well, you're already a celebrity." I like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "You're already a celebrity, like as a producer, right? But now you have to be an artist, and as an artist, you're not a celebrity. You
Mm.
know what I'm saying?
Like kind of
Right?
rebuilding in a sense,
Right?
if that makes,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. So like, I'm having to go through this whole process of like starting from scratch.
Mhm.
So like, there's a lot of learning that I've been learning in the process, I would say, and sometimes like these lessons are not always uh, exciting, but it's just something that, especially like if you really want it so bad, you just have to let yourself go through the process. So
Yeah. It's the
yeah,
journey.
yeah,
And I think but a good thing is you have the advantage of that you've already been within the industry, so you kind of already know some of the ins and outs, and now it's just a matter of building that foundation as an artist and
exactly.
getting listeners to know what your mission is with your music, your own personal music, for sure.
Right.
And then speaking
Right.
of your own personal music, so your debut single is titled Rotation, The Way You Move, which was inspired by Notting Hill Carnival. I'm interested though, were there other songs in the vault that you were heavily considering making your debut, or were you completely sold on this track to be your debut single?
There were definitely other songs that I was really hoping it would be the first single, but like I said earlier, like I'm working with a lot of people and I have to also be able to see things from other perspectives as well, you know.
Mhm,
So like I think unanimously, like everybody wanted protection. And I think like Protection is a great single. And I think like, it was a great choice as well. And just like every other song that I have, I think like if they were to be the first single, it would also be a great choice. But at the end of the day, we have to keep on, right? And
mhm.
rotation just seemed to be like the most considered one or the most leading one, you know what I'm saying? So we had to go with that. But like me personally, like I wanted to put something out that I want to be my first debut. It would probably be a song in the project called Tomorrow. And
Okay.
the reason for that is because like I feel like it would provide more opportunity and insight for people to like understand me as a person, you know, and also like get a little insight about like what I've been through, you know, and also
Mhm.
where I came from,
So more
like
more of a personal record.
right, exactly. Right. So like when it comes to like identity building, I feel like that song has the capability to like express that, and I feel like, I can also do, you don't need to be my profile debut. Like it could be like, because it's definitely coming on the project. And I feel like it's still gonna do this thing. But if you had asked me like what I wanted to be my debut, I would have suggested that for sure.
Okay. And then touching more on your project, which I know is going to be your debut EP, and it's called Letter to Delia, and it's in
Yeah.
memory of your late mother.
Well,
So how was it navigating putting your grief into lyrics and recording in the studio? How was that process for you?
very good question. So I feel like I wasn't born with a lot of like comfortable circumstances. I've had to like live with pain for a long, like the longest to this very day, I still live with pain to be honest. And
Mm,
like I'm still in the process of like defining my life. And I really don't want my life to be like how it was like back then. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to go through the process of like creating a new life for myself. And as someone who really didn't have a lot of opportunities, I've had to go through a lot of life. uh, you know, circumstances that wasn't like comfortable at all. And so it was painful, traumatic. I have to be very honest with you. There's a
yeah.
lot of trauma. There's a lot of trauma here, that I
Mm,
try to, as much as I can, like know how to manage, you know? So like, it's almost like every time I need to function, like somehow to a certain extent, like my pain will reflect itself in so many ways, in my conversations with like, and you can feel it, you can tell that to a certain extent, I'll say like, it's also I've utilized it to the point where like, it's now a superpower for me.
mm,
I'm
mhm,
saying so like, it allows me to be vulnerable. It allows me to see myself in a certain light that I would say when I go to the studio and I try to make music from that, it allows me to be more creative. It allows me to be more in touch of who I am and more in touch of my spirituality as well. Because when you go through too much pain in life and you start to see like when you start looking at different corners looking for help, you can't get help. Just you turn to God. You know
mhm,
what I'm saying? So like I've turned to God to an extent where I now would say like I have a very strong connection with God. So like that's the beauty of that pain. So when I go to the studio, that connection that I already have in my, with my spirituality with God, it allows me to be very creative. It's like people can feel it. Like I just left the camp like a couple of days ago. People could feel it. They could feel like they could tell like there's something about even one of the girl that I made a song with, she's a writer. She's like, there's just something about your work. You feel so rich,
mm,
right? And I'm like, yeah, because it's coming from this level of dimension and spirituality that I
mhm,
feel like I was only able to get to through pain.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that emotion and that spirituality, you can't fake that because there's things you can learn in the studio or you can finesse things here and there, but that raw, pure emotion, that's not something that you can fake. So I'm glad that you were able to find that platform and that space to get those
Yeah.
emotions out. And so how would you describe the sound of the EP? Like what can listeners expect?
Um, Great question. So I think the first thing people would generally say would be that it sounds very spiritual.
Okay.
It sounds very spiritual because when you hear it, there's something it does to you. You can tell like this person is has to be deep. Yeah, there has to be something about him. That's the first thing you're gonna get. And then also
Mhm.
you're also gonna experience a very high level of like music quality. So I think the word to describe that would be sonic richness,
Sonic
right?
richness. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so can tell like, okay, this nigga is not playing. Like he really knows how to do this shit. You know what I'm saying? And then
Mhm.
yeah, I think it would be that very like spiritual expression and sonic richness. I think
Okay.
that's what people feel really like, see. And it's so consistent. It's not this is just the start, but going forward, like I'm telling you, like that's how it's always gonna keep being. And one thing I also want to do with my music is so like to be able to like touch people, hear to people like in their soul, because I understand music has the capability to like do a lot. Because at the end of the day, like we as humans, we vibration. No, the entire idea of like we vibration frequency. So I've been able to tap into that and understand that and know how to navigate that. So like I try to infuse that with my music to make sure like if it's not heating enough, then it's not it. If I'm ever gonna
Mhm.
put out a song and be like, this is a Jonn P song, it has to pierce through your soul. It needs to get there. So like
Yeah.
people, I'll say people will be satisfied in their soul when they listen to Jonn.
Okay, so
Yeah,
and I can tell that's your mission throughout with your music career. I'm
exactly.
seeing,
Okay.
yeah. And then I know your EP is dropping in early 2026. So what are you most excited for in this new year that's coming in terms of building your artistry and just any things that you have planned coming up along with the EP? Like what are you most excited for in 2026?
I think my excitement right now would probably be just to be able to be an artist, because this is something I've always wanted to do. So like just to be able to do it, something that I'm really excited about. That 2026 will be a year where like I'm officially an artist. Like I'm putting songs out. And also like I'm not very concerned with my accomplishments. Like I don't really care like if at the end of the day, like only 20 people are listening to me. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like this is my purpose. This is why I'm here. And I can do it so well. God has given me this capability to do it so well. So it's like I'm just gonna do the best I can, and whatever happens outside of that, say I get like Grammy nominated for being an artist, or I get this whatever accolades or whatever comes, it's like it would be a consequence of my devotion. I just want to be devoted to the art. So
Mhm.
just having this opportunity to like really devote to the art and keep releasing music consistently, I think it's something that I'm very excited for in 2026.
So like fulfilling your purpose is a goal. Everything
Yeah,
else is just extra an additional
exactly.
win for you. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, John, for chatting with me. It's been great learning more about your journey as a producer and now turned artist. And I'm excited for when your debut EP drops in 2026. And yeah, I'm just excited for what's to come for you.
Thank you so much. It's definitely my greatest pleasure to invest. Appreciate you. Love your energy, by the way.
Of course. Oh, thank you. I love your energy too. This was a great conversation. Thank you so much.